Good morning, everybody. Coming at you again with another YouTube video. This is your buddy and pal Chapo Dong. Happy Thanksgiving, happy post-Thanksgiving, happy holiday season. Hopefully you guys are rocking and rolling. I know as far as I'm concerned, had a good weekend, got over a cold, got over family, got over hangovers and alcohol, got over a losing weekend in NFL. I got over it all, baby. We're ready to start fresh. And we're going to come at you with week 13 of the NFL season. So by all means, give me a follow out on Twitterland at Chapadong. This is the number that I focus on. The more influence I gather, the more I'm able to bring quality content to you guys. Well, whatever my amateur style is. Let's call a spade a spade. Let's not call it quality. Let's just say that it is very transparent, very open. What goes in my head comes out my mouth, lands in your brain, and you do what you do with it. So hopefully it teaches you, hopefully you learn, hopefully I bring you up to speed on a couple of other concepts along the way. I'm a coach and contributor inside DFSarmy.com. That is perhaps the greatest single community out there on the internet as far as daily fantasy sports and related content. You can see my browser issues. I have not completely gotten over my computer problems, but they are coming back, and we are doing a little bit better as we hum along. So what we're going to do is we're going to start digging into a few of these things. I want to walk through the winning lineups like we always do and show you that the Army wins night in and night out. And no, I don't want anything to do with the notifications. What I'm trying to do is trying to go back and see if I can't find some of the NFL stuff that we were playing, because, I mean, we just win. There's some winners there in NFL. And you scroll back a little farther, $350 winner in the NFL, $30 there. Nice little ladder run there. I mean, I can just keep going time in and time out. You know, a lot of what we do is NBA related. So, I mean, when we get to Sunday, okay, not a lot of guys posted a lot of winning lineups. I know overall we didn't have a smashing week when it comes to, this is a nice one though, when it comes to the ups and downs of the variance of the sport. There just was not a lot going on last week for the players that we were on as a whole. Those guys that are a little more contrarian, that got off the beaten path, certainly did their jobs, and certainly, you know, turned, you know, $9 into $25, which is small potatoes for some of you guys, but for others, that's a monster win. It's more than they've done in a couple of years. There's another one that's in, you know, for $55 and out for what looks like about $300. I mean, that's maybe a little bit more your speed. Maybe 300 in and 900, you know, 1,000 out is more your speed. I mean, again, we just have guys of all levels winning all the time, from NBA to NHL to NHL to MLB to all of the different sports. If you want to branch out and learn a new sport, I encourage you to give us a try. If you want to get better at a sport that you're already in, I encourage you to give us a try. We have tools, we have content, we have optimizers, we have obviously articles and player recommendations. We don't give out lineups. That's not what we do inside DFS Army. We try to dig in with you, with our coaches and our advisors, more of a group think style in our main rooms, but also we do a little bit of one-on-one stuff off on the side and try to coach you into a better player and explain to you the concepts that made some of us better players, and really just give back to the community that's given us so much. We just do it in our own little private forum. I happen to be out in the public a lot. I try to find new people, spread the word. You know, when you find a cure for cancer, you shout from the mountaintops. It's kind of what I do. So without rambling too much, that's a brief rundown of the Army, some of our winning lineups from the last week. If I jump over to our favorite website, Swish Analytics, and of course, we're going to let some dead space come in. Maybe we fill up some more music as we're doing that. I guess not. That responded pretty quickly, so that's a good thing. We're going to look at the main slate, and we're going to look on Fanduel for the main slate, and we're just going to run down and make sure some things happen and nothing really caught us off guard. You know, McCown, we've talked about him off and on for several weeks. Russell Wilson has been – here's the thing with Russell Wilson. Guy's been producing. That team is asking him to do so much with no running game, and, you know, they haven't really been throwing. He's been combining a lot of using his legs and using his arm to put up very, very solid numbers, and the overwhelming majority of the offense flows through him. Last week there was a stat, 23 of the 24 touchdowns he's completely responsible for that the offense has scored this week. And, you know, here he is again last week, all 3 touchdowns. passed for 2, ran for 1. So again, he's now responsible for what, like 26 of the 27 touchdowns that the offense has scored all year. That when you find that kind of concentrated production inside an offense, you load up on it. So as a result, loaded up on him in a lot of cash games and a lot of stuff last week, and he brought his floor. He did all right. Carson Wentz, week in and week out. Jared Goff, guy, I guess he's a thing. I guess I got to start believing in him. And at this price, he's very, very attractive. He keeps getting into situations where I think that they're going to run. They're going to go back to Gurley, but they're not. They're running a little more balanced offense. That tends to hurt Gurley at $9,000. But it sure helps Goff at $7,000. So again, adapt and change. Sometimes we move on. We'll take a look at Week 13 here in a little bit as we're wrapping up Week 12. Blake Bortles, probably a trap. I mean, he's been crap all year, but I personally think the guy had some talent. He just went into the mental funk, and I don't think he's necessarily coming out of it. But I don't think he's like the world's worst quarterback. I just think that they've got Leonard Fournette. They don't need to use him, so why put any pressure on his arm if you don't have to? Tom Brady, okay. Tom Brady's been a little up and down. DeShone Kizer comes out of nowhere again. Matt Ryan, a little bit disappointing, under 20 points. Blaine Gabbert for cheap. You'd have rather had Blaine Gabbert save the $2,000. Andy Dalton, Cam Newton was just kind of okay. Was another quarterback that I liked. Alex Smith has been playing bad lately, and a lot of that's play calling. Let's not really get into it. But a lot of that is Andy Reid's fault. Kareem Hunt has fallen off the map. The only thing in that offense really worth using right now is Travis Kelce, and that's only if they call plays for him. And they didn't call plays for him hardly the entire first half, and they couldn't get the ball to him the 3 or 4 times they tried. That's on Andy Reid, man. It's Andy Reid's being predictable, and these defenses are getting on to what one-dimensional crap Andy Reid traditionally does. He falls back into his old habits. And talk about adapt and change, he doesn't. So, predictably, they're tanking my season-long league with them because I wound up with a lot of Chiefs. And it was looking good the first half of the season, this half not so much. So, hopefully they come back. If we click over to running back, Alvin Kamara, I want you to notice something with Alvin Kamara. 5 rushing attempts. This dude's not touching the ball a lot. I know he's spectacular. But he's the Kareem Hunt of the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season. I'm not saying he's not sustainable. I don't know. I know the stats. Oh, he's got so many yards, fastest to this from a rookie, and this many games. He's got this many average yards per carry, blah, blah. Okay, that's all great, and it's fancy. But don't get blinded by that shiny little toy. This shit's unsustainable, man. It's unsustainable. You cannot, because it's never been done in the history of the game, doesn't mean that the record won't be broken, but it also means it's more than likely it isn't going to last. So this price is getting way up there. Deservedly so, but it's time we start opening our minds to other options. He's not some $5,500 running back that's getting a lot of work, because he's not even getting a lot of work. He's just breaking off big plays. Again, it's great, but it's not sustainable. Joe Mixon, okay. Tevin Coleman, this was your value play last week, once again, with Freeman out. What it is, it's a committee minus a guy. And what you're looking for is when the committee subtracts a guy, do they replace the committee, or do they let the other half of it just take off? In this case, they're letting the other half of it take off. That's why we'll be on Tevin Coleman for a while until he gets too pricey, and then we'll start shifting around. Good luck if you nailed, or good for you if you nailed Burkhead. You don't know what Belichick's ever going to do. Gurley was okay for cash. I mean, given that nobody else really did anything. But again, this kind of stuff, man, is kind of yucky. I know that the injury down in Miami might put Kenyon Drake in a decent role. That 9 carries might come up to, say, 15. And for $4,500, if they didn't adjust his salary, then we might be on to something. LaShawn McCoy, where have you gone? 22 touches. Melvin Gordon had, a bunch of touches. These guys just were running through a lull. So hopefully you don't have them in your season-long teams, and hopefully you're dodging a lot of these bullets in the daily fantasy world. That's kind of what we're doing. We go with what we know, and we go back to the well week in and week out. And I'll show you that when we look at the Vegas lines here in a little bit. Wide receiver Julio finally had his big day. Are you going to chase those points? I think you're dumb if you do. I don't think they're going to suddenly use him. If they do, it'll be another week or so, and then he'll fly off into relative obscurity. Julio Jones has never really been all that cash safe, and all the people in the industry that were on him all told you that I'm on him more for tournaments than I am for cash. Those that used him in cash were taking a big old risk. It paid off for them. That's great. Sometimes that's what it takes. But man, he's just been too inconsistent. He's just been too inconsistent throughout the year, and his offense forgets about him. Robbie Anderson has been more consistent. That was a good game for him. But look at what both Jets receivers did. Cooper Kupp, a lot of us were on him. Brandon Cooks, another fluke in that Belichick offense. You just don't ever know. Devin Funchess, the number one in Carolina. These are all, 3 of these 5 or 6 are predictable. Mohamed Sanu's been consistent all year long. Sammy Watkins with Robert Woods out. I don't know how many people had a lot of faith in him, but it worked out. Aguilar, Jeffrey. I mean, what you're seeing is the same names. Landry. You're seeing the same names pretty much over and over and over again. So key on these and play this core of, Robbie. If Robert Woods is out, Kupp is a good play. I don't know if Sammy Watkins can repeat, but Kupp's cheap. Anderson, Kupp, Funchess, Sanu. These guys are all fairly cheap. Look at this. Look at the salary. Okay, Julio's up there, and Julio's cheap for Julio based on brand name. But 5,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 4,000. You guys that love playing cheap running backs and loading up on wide receivers, you guys are doing it wrong. That's why you're losing. What you need to do is you need to load up on the running backs with the more consistent production. The $8,000 running backs, and I know I just bashed on Kamara saying it's unsustainable, but hopefully you understand my point. Your Todd Gurley's, yes, these guys sprinkle in here, but by and large, wasn't a good week, like I said, for the studs, but by and large, this is where your money spent is going to be the most predictable because these are the guys that are getting the touches, and these are the guys that are getting the goal line work. The wide receiver position is typically very up and down. So you look for your value here and find the $4,000 and $5,000 and $6,000 receivers that are set up to get a lot of traffic. And if you hit on them, you're golden. You hit on them, your running back does what your running back's supposed to do, and you've got a very well-rounded team that's very hard to beat. Tight ends, usual suspects. Man, this Seals Jones guy's coming out of nowhere. That's the second week I've seen him play. So maybe he's worth looking into, guys. But you got, your traditionals, your Jimmy Graham, Walker, Doyle, Ertz, Gronk. No Travis Kelce. He didn't have a very good week, but he's usually up in there. So once again, you load up on what you know. Don't be afraid. Don't think that playing the chalk is such a bad thing. It's really not. Patriots D, we're in a good spot. Panthers D, I don't know. Philly D was in a great spot. Jaguars D, offense always in a decent spot. I think Cardinals were tripping some triggers. You've got fluky defenses, but your guys that are doing well and carry the big spreads week in and week out are the ones that are doing the damage. And it's not rocket science. Kickers, don't think we really need to go over kickers. Thank you for telling me there's no projections there. We can kill that. We can run, I guess, back to Twitter for you real quick. But let's jump into next week's lines really quick, and let's see if we can't spot anything. We're looking at the Thursday game, Dallas, Washington at Dallas. That game actually has a little bit of good stuff to it. I know people will tell you that it's short week, and it's really not because they played last Thursday, so they're on 7 days rest. I'll also tell you it's a division rivalry game, second time of the year. A lot of times they've seen each other once. They know what they're capable of doing. The games play a little bit tougher. But, one thing I know is Dak is not Dak without Zeke. And please, for 3 weeks in a row, listen to me when I tell you, get off of Dak. Get off those pass catchers. This is not a good situation until Zeke comes back. When Zeke comes back, hopefully Dak's price is driven down to the point where he's just a super bargain and we can get right back on him. But until then, it's really you're just going to be spending your time over here with your Kirk Cousins and whatnot and getting your points that way. I know they're on the road. I know it's Thursday night, but they've been capable. They've had okay days. There is no Kirk Cousins naked is not a bad play because really what you've run into is no running game and not a lot of dependability in the passing game. There's not a lot of focus in that passing game. Therefore, he's kind of spreading the ball around. He's getting his yards, he's getting his points, and you're having a little trouble hitting on the right guy. The right guy right now is Jameson Crowder, but that can go away just as fast as it should back up finally. Hopefully not, because I was banking on that all year long. Really thought Crowder would be the guy there. We've got no line on the Baltimore-Detroit game, so I don't really have an opinion just yet. I know I don't like anything on the Baltimore offense, and I typically don't like stuff from Detroit on the road, so I probably won't be on that game that much. San Francisco at Chicago, that's a puke game. Play people if you want to play them. I won't be on it. I focus on the green, man. It doesn't do me wrong. Just focus on the green stuff. Minnesota headed into Atlanta. Matt Ryan's been playing okay lately, and Minnesota with Case Keenum and whatnot. Yeah, I can see why it has a little bit of shootout potential to it. So these guys are in play. Your Thielens, your Julio Joneses, your Tevin Colemans if Freeman's not back. I don't know what you'd use in the Latavius Murray McKinnon committee because I typically try to stay away from committees when I can, but the quarterbacks and receivers are definitely in play in this game. 49-point total, 8-point spread in New England. Buffalo's been kind of goofy lately. I mean, Tyrod has shown a little bit of resurgence, but LaShawn McCoy's kind of disappeared. I don't anticipate that, standing up for the rest of the year. I think LaShawn McCoy's a stud. I think that he'll come back when he gets some traffic and workload. I don't know where the favorite receiver of Charles Clay has gone. I know Zay Jones all of a sudden has come up out of nowhere, and whoever the hell they had again last week that kind of popped up. So, maybe there's something, and if that's the case, I don't know where New England is not going to run away with this game. Not that 20 points is a lot, but giving almost 3 touchdowns to Buffalo seems like a lot of credit. New England, obviously, everything's kind of in play, but again, it's more of a Brady thing because I don't know what running back they're going to use. I don't know what receivers they're going to use. It's a really unpredictable spot, but I will say this. That big spread, that big total versus a little bit lower total does look like a defense is in play here again because they've been scoring lately. They've been getting to the quarterback and forcing some turnovers here and there. I tend to focus a little bit more on lower point totals and big spreads like this one, which I'll talk about here in a minute. Denver, Miami, puke. Jarvis Landry's always kind of in play, though. He's been in play. Everybody said, get off him, get off him. I haven't gotten off him yet, and he's a good cash-safe guy who occasionally has a decent week. He's not going to ruin you. He may not, win your tournament for you, but he's not going to ruin you. He's not a bad little anchor to stick in that spot. Houston at Tennessee. I don't know what to say about this game. I haven't followed these teams for a while. Houston's implied at 18, Tennessee at 24. But, do we trust Mariota? Do we trust DeMarco Murray, those types? I don't know. Doesn't feel like we can to me, so that game's a little goofy. Jacksonville, Indianapolis. This is a big spot for Jacksonville defense. They'll probably be priced accordingly. I don't know about the whole Blake Bortles experience. I do know that Indianapolis has been bad. I don't know if Indianapolis is going to compete here. Seems like a Fournette type of game, but Fournette may be still dealing with an ankle injury that we don't know about because they haven't been using him as much the past few weeks. So maybe there's something that they're not saying. It's kind of weird, but teams over 24 I do like. So, I'll be looking into them this week. Tampa Bay, Green Bay. Oh, that's more like crap on crap. It's in Green Bay up in Lambeau Field. That probably won't be too cold being that winter hasn't really kicked in across the country yet. I know when Tampa Bay goes up there, there's something about, the sub 40 temps and all this kind of jazz, but I don't know how much I'm paying to any attention to that because if Fitzpatrick's show is kind of cold on its own, if you will. I just don't see it, man. Doesn't have a lot of fantasy appeal to me. New York, Kansas City should have fantasy appeal, but it won't because until Andy Reid shows me that he can get out of his own head, I'm not enjoying playing anyone other than a Travis Kelce. I'd look at the DVP for tight ends versus the New York Jets. Now, one thing I will say, Kansas City's defense is overrated. They give a lot of points. They bend. They when they're playing well, they don't break, and they take the ball away when you get down up against the end zone. But they haven't been doing that lately. They've been allowing a lot of points, and it doesn't seem like the rest of the industry is really capitalizing on that. I'm not saying stack up Jets. I'm saying look at a few of them, though. McCown, you saw what he did. You saw what Curse can do, and I would say Robbie Anderson's, definitely in play. Maybe some ASJ if Kansas City can't defend the tight end. So this is the side I'd be leaning on. I'll probably take a player or two out of there and put him in my player pool. Whether or not he makes the final cuts, I don't really know. I would love to keep playing Kareem Hunt, thinking he's going to come back, but until he gets touches, until they give him a chance, you're relying on big touchdowns, and they're not even using him in the passing game that much anymore. So I don't know what doghouse he's in, but Travis Kelce to me is the only playable player in the Kansas City side until we get some kind of 40-point outpouring again where they get back on track, which they can do because they were doing it all first 6 weeks of the year. Carolina, New Orleans, rivalry game, division game, potential shootout again, and definitely so. It's going to go through Cam. Maybe some Funchess in there. Maybe a little bit of McCaffrey, but that's going to kind of be it. Maybe Dixon. I mean, these are some of the names you need to know, obviously. But over here, I don't know about the Drew Brees. And now that the Kamara and Ingram show It seems to be leaning Kamara, but it's more the big plays. He's not getting the touches. The touches seem to still be going to Ingram. Breeze can air it out anytime he wants, but we haven't seen it yet this year. So this is a funny one to predict. This is why this game's so much fun. It's hard to predict, guys. Chargers, Cleveland. Cleveland's crap, as we know. Chargers have been playing really well lately. Chargers are at home. This would lean towards some kind of Melvin Gordon game on paper, and it should. So I don't mind playing him this week or looking into him. What I really like is the defense. Giant spread, low opponent total. This show, Kaiser is turnover prone. I think that the LA Chargers, if they haven't adjusted the prices on the sites, the LA Chargers should be in a smash spot. LA Rams, Arizona Cardinals. Oh man, division rivalry, second meeting this year. Rams have been great. Arizona, not so much. I can see us playing the one side of this football over here quite a bit. Gurley, Cup. I don't know if you want to go back to the well on Watkins. They were forcing the ball to Tavon Austin, which was really interesting. I watched some of that game. Goff, for sure. Rams defense, for sure. I just don't know. Other than maybe that tight end in Arizona might be a sneaky cheap play. He's had a couple of good weeks. I don't know what else there is in Arizona to be watching for. Oakland, New York. New York at least goes to Oakland instead of Oakland going east. So, again, I don't really like the New York side of the ball much. The Oakland side is just okay. Crabtree's been suspended, I believe. So that would really, if prices haven't adjusted, that would be the time I would load up on Amari Cooper. I might even sneak in some Seth Jones. Seth Jones has a weird way of scoring touchdowns, at random times. And if you're the GPP kind of guy and you really want a sneaky low-priced play, he's kind of the de facto number 2 in that offense without Crabtree in there. So that might be something to take a look at. Philadelphia is a cash-safe team most times. I don't know what they're planning on doing with the Blunt and Ajayi committee, but Carson Wentz and Zach Ertz, man, I know they're expensive now, but they just keep on clicking. And going into Seattle doesn't scare me at all with all of their Legion of Boom dudes either getting hurt, retiring, quitting, breaking bones, forgetting their osteoporosis medicine. I mean, I don't really know what the hell's going on over there, but they're breaking down, and that's fine. Father Time catches us all. They were good at their peak, and they ride that brand name, that reputation. They are at home, so you got to respect it a little bit. But Carson Wentz has torched every matchup he's been in all year long, from Denver to other just things that we try to avoid. And so it's just probably time to stick it on the Carson Wentz train and just ride it until it goes off the cliff, because you might get a long, healthy ride out of Carson Wentz and Zach Ertz. Pittsburgh, I don't know. They're so hard to Ben's had a couple good games. Le'Veon Bell has been off. It feels like this year, certainly for his price. Le'Veon's more of a $7,500 back. He's not a $9,000 back. Cincinnati, they're going to put up a fight. This is usually a good little bludgeoning type of game back and forth. So, I wouldn't be surprised to see this one flip on its head. Another GPP contrarian play. You want to throw a little hammer into it on a Thursday through Monday slate. I would maybe some Dalton, maybe some Green, maybe look into it a little bit. You got to look into the numbers and see how they traditionally play each other. That's just a brief rundown of what we're looking at this week. For, more details, you follow the Wishbone. For more details, you jump into Slack and become a VIP. Use that coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P, and trigger that 20% off discount of the VIP. It's not too late, guys. We're clicking with NBA. Hockey's got a lot of good coverage that kind of evolves as it goes. So we're a year-round website. This isn't one of those things where just because you don't play football, if you want to learn a different sport, I promise you NBA is the safest sport we offer, and probably the most predictable, the most consistent, and it can feed even your football bankroll as the season winds down. So I would give that some serious thought. I'd follow the link that I'm going to put either in the description or the comments of this tab. I'll probably attach this to an article, the Wishbone, obviously. You can find us there. Hopefully you like this format of the, little 20-25 minute rundown of last week and a little preview of this week. And week 13's here, guys. We're off and running. Take care.